Palworld has a lot of things that people still don't know about it. So, with that out of the way, let's get into 20 facts that you didn't know about Palworld. Okay, starting off with fact number 20, we're going to be talking about German Tide. Wait, wrong one. There we go, that's the German Tide I know. So to sum it up, German Tide is pretty much just a fire variant of his counterpart, German Tide. Unlike his counterpart though, Ignis does have a spot where he can actually spawn on the map. It actually spawns on a little island which is north of the volcano island. The only downside to this is that for one, you're going to have to travel all the way down there, and for two, they spawn at an extremely high level, so you're most likely not going to get it if you're just starting off. I even tried throwing a hyper spear at it from the back to see how much it would do, and it was only 2%, so I threw it and I ran away because that's obviously not going to catch. But even if you're a low level, you can head down to Volcano Island and you can find yourself some eggs there. But to be more specific, you have to find a huge dragon egg. And if you find one of these, it has a 1 in 8 chance to give you a German Tide. The best place to find them is in really high peaked areas, so pretty much just look throughout the entire mountain. Worst case scenario, you'll get a Relaxosaurus, which is not too bad, but it is bad. Moving on to number 19, we're going to be talking about something that we just talked about. On number 20, we spoke about an island where you find German Tides. Well, there's actually 2 more islands on the map. Apart from the island that German Tide Ignises spawn on, that's all the way to the left in the center, there's also another island at the bottom center of the map, and another one all the way on the top right of the map. So these islands are technically considered wildlife sanctuaries, and they spawn a lot of pals that don't spawn in the rest of the map apart from bosses. Do keep in mind though that a lot of the pals here are going to be a lot higher level than what you're used to seeing. For number 18, we're going to be talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Direhowl. So the reason we're talking about him is because this man has made himself one of the only S-ranked ground travelers in the game. And it is the easiest one to catch of all of them, so you want to have this guy in your team. But to prove that I'm not exaggerating, here's a list of all the pals that you can ride on the ground. And as you can see on the list, he is one of the 8 S-tiered pals. Number 17. The entirety of Palworld is literally crawling with dungeon entrances, so much so that there's 125 dungeon entrances, while there's also 45 dungeons and 6 dungeon variants. So if you're looking to farm bosses, this is honestly a really good way to do it. There's also a few pals that only spawn in dungeons. Some of these are the Maus, the Felbats, and the Kilimarus. With number 16, it is one that you will not expect needing until you need it. So I'm referring to one of the 3 pals that you see right at the beginning of the game, the Chapi. So Chapi is actually one of the most important pals that you will eventually need in the game. The reason for this is that it produces eggs whenever you put them down in the ranch, and eggs are what you use to make cake, which in turn is what is used to breed pals together. So don't be sleeping on the Chickapees. At our 5th fact in, we're going to be talking about unpaid overtime. With your workers, you're going to be dealing with a lot of them who pass out way too early for your liking. But worry not, there are some pals that you have literally been sleeping on. Yes, I am referring to nocturnal pals. So these pals actually work 24/7 unless they are like depressed or upset or on a break, which, you know, every pal is. In this list of pals, will actually show you which ones are nocturnal and work endlessly. There's some of the basic ones like Who Crates, Depresso, Daydream, Tombat, and even more. My 2 favorite ones, which are also easy to catch, are Lavender, even though it's extremely ugly, but it works very good, and Tombat, which is my all-time favorite. It is extremely easy to catch, it can transport stuff, and it's also a miner at a low level. For fact number 14, this is more of a fact that you should know throughout the entirety of the game. And I'm sure you guys are aware that there is elements in Palworld, but just like Pokemon, there's also element types that certain elements are good against and weak against. One of those you should definitely be paying attention to are fire types, because not only are they good against grass types, but they're also good against ice types. This actually makes the fire pals the only pals that are good against 2 different element types. On to fact number 13, and these are pals you definitely don't want to flex at school. These pals you can actually equip with some weaponry, so you can actually use them on the go as weapons. For example, with LIF Monk, you can use him as a submachine gun, and even if you're early game, you pretty much just have a gun you can use at all times. Definitely something to have early game. Some more examples are Maussan Deluxe, who has a grenade launcher. Then there's Grisbolt, who can be equipped with a minigun. Then there's also Pengolet, who you could literally use as ammunition for a rocket launcher, but he will die on contact, so be aware. For number 12, we already spoke about it a little bit, but I want to expand more on this subject. So this is going to be about eggs. In Palworld, there is 3 different size eggs, as well as 9 different variants of these eggs, all of which correspond to a certain element. And obviously, the best size egg is the huge egg. However, the large egg still drops a lot of really good pals whenever you hatch them. Some of the pals that can be hatched from large eggs are Masanda Lux, Wumpo, Quivern, and even Beacon. So it's definitely something to keep in mind to grab whenever you do see it. And either way, whenever you do grab them, it gives opportunity for other eggs to spawn in while you're exploring. So, win-win. Going on to fact number 11, I feel like everybody should know this one. And if you don't, pay attention. So if you're trying to catch a POW, you can actually, instead of hitting them from the front, which will give you a certain amount, if you actually go and hit them from the back, that sounds horrible, but if you hit them from the back, you actually get around a 2 times bonus. As you can see in this video, it went from being a 13 to now a 33%, which is more than 2 times in this case. So another thing you can do is actually lower their health to whatever you want it to be, and then leave the area so that they lose their aggro, and whenever you come back, you can sneak up behind them and then hit them from the back again. So that way it'll be an even higher catch rate. Finally, we are halfway there and on to fact number 10. Fact number 10 is that there's actually a like and subscribe button if you enjoy the video. Thank you very much. But only if you enjoy the video, okay? Only. Maybe. So there's actually 17 different pals that are also mountable and can fly in the game as of right now. As of those 17, I know one of them you're going to think is an amazing idea to get, and I'm going to say, do not get it. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. Just get a freaking wolf, please. It sucks. It's the Nightwing. Keep it out of your inventory. It sucks. And just to further proof that it absolutely sucks, just look at this list. It is the only one out of the 17 that has a C ranking on speed. It sucks. You're honestly way better off getting the Van Wyrm, which is a little bit further away from spawn, but it spawns at a low level, so you could definitely catch it really early on. Anyways, here's 9 more of the 17 pals. And clearly the best one on here is the Jet Dragon. His speed total max is 3,300, which is more than double of the second place one, which is a Frost Stallion. A lot of these S-ranked ones, though, you can find from eggs that are scattered throughout the map, so I would definitely keep an eye out for those. For number 9, we're going to be talking about automatic infinite shillings. So you're pretty much going to be making a farm slash a ranch with Mauis, this thing, whatever. So yeah, these guys pretty much just have an ability to poop out gold. So to find them, you're actually going to have to adventure to caves. And the one that I found is actually near the Syndicate Tower cave entrance. They're not always active though, so you're going to want to either wait for it or look for another entrance. Then whenever you find an entrance to the cave that you need to go into, just explore every single room that there is, and eventually you will be able to find a few Mauis. They're also not hard at all to catch. You can catch them with pal spheres and use a bow to lower them, and you don't even need a pal to do it. So once you have as many as you want of them, you literally just throw them down. They're going to go down to the ranch, and then eventually they're going to farm you up some gold. You probably are going to need a PAL with at least a decent level of transporting though, because eventually this is going to pile up a lot of gold, and it's going to get really annoying to like come and pick it up, and it's just going to be a mess. Going on to number 8, we're going to be talking about PAL spheres and how to obtain a lot of them. So what you want to start by doing is getting as many Vixies as you want, and then putting them all out in your plot. Then if you have a ranch on your land, they're going to automatically go to it, and then they're going to start grazing. Once they do this, they have a chance of dropping either gold, PAL spheres, or arrows. Most of the time, though, it is PAL spheres. This is honestly one of the best ways to level up when you're early in the game, especially because you just get the PAL spheres for free, and they all just pile up over time. Apart from that, you can get yourself a pretty high-level transporting PAL, and then put him down, and he'll just grab all the PAL spheres off the ground, so you don't have to come and pick up scattered PAL spheres. I'm not 100% as to how long it takes for them to start digging, but I know it takes 30 seconds to 1 minute roughly. So if you want to find exactly where they spawn pretty commonly right in front of where the spawn area is, so it's not going to be that much of a hassle to actually find any. As well as they spawn in groups sometimes, so that's pretty easy. So for the 7th factual, we're going to be talking about breeding exclusives. Essentially, these are pals you cannot obtain anywhere on the map. Instead, you actually have to breed to obtain them. These pals are actually all technically just variants of other pals, but the thing is that their type changes once you breed them. This one right here is the Walmart type Alpha Dran, which is actually just a dragon type. And then right here, we obviously have the exclusive edition, which is the Alpha Dran Aqua. It's pretty much just a dragon and then add some water to it. That's it. So next up, we actually have the exclusive variant of Reptyro. And I feel like they definitely got a little bit lazy with this one, counting that its name is literally Ice Reptyro. But these two definitely remind me of something. I just can't quite pinpoint what exactly it is. But moving on to some cooler looking ones, we have the Suzaku and the Suzaku Aqua. And with the Suzaku Aqua, they definitely did put more attention to the detail, and I think it looks a lot cooler than its original counterpart. But for our last one here, we actually have the exclusive version of Frostallion, which is Frostallion Noct. It's essentially just the evil version of Frostallion, but I don't want to say too much on him because I'm going to be talking about his counterpart here in the next fact. So on to fact number 6, there is actually 4 different legendary pals on Palworld. For the first two, we have 2 that literally look like siblings. There's Palladius and then there's Necromus. They literally look like exact copies of each other's, just slightly different tune-up on the style, and that's it. The next legendary we have is Jet Dragon, which is literally what his name implies. It's a dragon jet. This guy's actually the fastest pal that is also rideable in the game. So if you get him, you're definitely going to be zooming around the whole map. So for our last one, we actually have Frostallion, which is exactly what its name implies again. It's pretty much a stallion with wings. So that's pretty much it. But cool. So the thing that technically makes all of these legendary pals is a passive skill that they all naturally have. It's called legendary. So it pretty much just gives all of them a boost on their stats. It's a 20% attack boost, 20% defense boost, as well as a 15% movement speed boost. Finally, we're 75% of the way there, and why don't we just let Chef clear this one up? Well, I figure you can make sense of what this one is. It has to do with penking and breeding. So to sum this one up, penking is pretty much one of the best pals to catch for breeding early game, especially if you want to get yourself some stronger Pokemons that are more mid to late game. So one of the pals that it can actually make is Verdash. He has a planting level 2, handiwork level 3, lumbering level 2, transporting level 2, and gathering level 3. So it's really an all-around pal, and it can really do pretty much everything at your base, apart from mining, which is kind of unfortunate. So another one you can actually make using Penking is a Blazehowl. Don't ask me how, but this one's mainly just a cool one. The reason being is because it really only has Kindling level 3. Apart from that, it's Lumbering level 2, and there's definitely way better ones for Kindling that you can get pretty early game. But regardless, it's still a pretty cool one to have early game. So moving on to our last two, we have Wumpo Botan and Anubis. These are actually my 2 favorite ones that you can make with Penking. So with Anubis, it actually has a handiwork level 4, mining level 3, and transporting level 2, which is honestly really good to have. Photon, however, comes in with a max level transporting and the current max level for lumbering, as well as level 2 in handiwork and level 1 in planting. And I mean, let's be honest, who wouldn't want a giant grass ball as a pal? Going on to number 4, this one has to do with my boy LIF Monk. So if you actually go to the Paldex and find LIF Monk, it actually states that he's as smart as a 5 to 7-year-old child. So let me get this right. Not only is this 5 to 7-year-old child shooting other sentient creatures, but it itself is also sentient, and I'm also forcing child labor and enslaving them. Yeah, this game is kind of off the rails. But let's be honest, nobody cares. Let's move on. For number 3, we'll be covering the little twinkling lights you see on the ground. So if you actually go to the little twinkling lights, you'll realize that a lot of the times they are actually really decent items. For example, you can get yourself some mega spheres, or you could even run into some skill fruits. So I've noticed if you go down to some harder areas with higher level pals, you can actually find higher tiered stuff. So for example, if you go down to Volcano Island, you can find yourself some higher tiered drops like Mega Balls and even Hyper Balls. Right now we'll be moving on to number 2, and this one has to do a lot with the settlements in Palworld. So there's actually 3 different settlements in Palworld. The 3 different locations are actually shown on this map. One of them, which you'll probably run into first, is pretty much right next to spawn. The other one is on Volcano Island at the very bottom in like this desert type of area. And then the third one is actually all the way on the top of the map to the right around the middle of that desert. But why do settlements even matter? So the thing about settlements is that you can find merchants in every single one of the settlements, and they all have their unique trades, as well as some merchants come with the ability to buy pals from them directly. So if you have some coins to spend, those are definitely good places to go. And I mean, well, obviously, if you did number 9, you're going to have a lot of coins to spend. Finally, we're on to our last one here, and it actually has to do with the skill fruit tree. So skill fruit tree is pretty much exactly what the name implies. It's a tree that spawns throughout the map, and it has these like random fruits on it. These fruits are used on your pals. Once you give it to them, they will learn different abilities that they normally wouldn't be able to, even ones that are out of their element type. So essentially what you can do is give your electric type a grass move, and that way, even though it's still weaker to a ground type, it'll still be able to do more damage to the ground type, which in turn kind of counters it. So I guess the question you'd be asking now is, where exactly do you find these? And this is a map of where all of the trees are going to be. I do believe that if you go to a harder area, the drops from the trees are slightly better, but I'm not 100% on this, so take that with a grain of salt. And with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, or go check out some of my other videos. See ya!